So I'm Lauren Hall. This is our Carolina Hypnosis Network monthly club meeting. And tonight we have Bird, consulting hypnotherapist and performance mindset expert, presenting on niching to enrich your clients and your practice. And Karen is an international speaker and has spoken to this club before. And we are so honored and grateful to have you again to speak, Karen. So I'll let you take the floor, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for that nice introduction. I appreciate it. I'm so happy to be here again. It's always fun to share ideas, like you said, Lauren. And I find that the more that we network together, the more that we can help each other and lift each other up. So I always appreciate being at these and sharing what I know. And mostly what I know is the reason I know it is because I've been doing this for so long. And the longer we're in it, the longer the more we learn. So it's just nice to have someone, speaking of business coaches, I have learned that every time I want to up level or get a step above, it's about hiring someone who has been where I want to go, can mentor me, and then also help me with my mindset, because we know that the most successful entrepreneurs and the most successful people in business know how to manage their mind. And of course, we are teaching that with hypnosis, yet we also need it. I find that, the more we use it ourselves, the more successful we become. I appreciate being here. Thank you for having me. I'm going to talk about niching because that's what I was asked to speak about. Although I know there are questions about how I run my business and what I do for systems and all of that. So I'm going to leave space for all of that also, because my view is that the more I can help others, the more we're all successful and the better it makes our profession, because there are no lack of clients out there. Let me tell you what, there are no lack of clients. And so the more of us that are good at what we do, that are good professionals and business people, the better our businesses run. Because I'm going to talk about in a little bit how I would say 99% of us, maybe not the almonds, you guys, because you've been in so long and I know you knew a bit about business, but I know most of us, when we got into hypnosis and hypnotherapy, it was because we wanted to help other people. It's because there was something that happened in our life that we learned about hypnosis and hypnotherapy, and we were like, wow, that's so cool. It helped me so much. Or I've seen so many great results from it. I want to do that too. Yet we don't realize what it means to be an entrepreneur and to have a successful business and all of the pieces that play into that. And so 18 years later, I can say that I feel like I finally have gotten to a space where I've learned what it takes and the mindset around it and what I can do. But it's been a journey, so I'm happy to share it with all of you. When I talk about niching, Grace Smith, she is an amazing businesswoman that teaches classes and business coaching down in Florida. And she one time said that niche down so you can blow up. And I loved it, because I think it is so very true. The more we niche, the more we can be an expert. And honestly, the more successful our businesses are. Now, these are all concepts that, Lauren, you were just saying earlier that when we get certified, we learn how to do pre-talks and we learn how to get people hypnotized, and here's some inductions, and this is a convincer and all of those amazing things. Yet my philosophy, I would say in the last at least 5 years, if not more, is that it should be required to have a business course along with taking hypnosis course if you want to be a business owner, because there's so many pieces that are left out. And I feel like a lot of times we're just kind of thrown to the wolves, which is why I think it's so important to have, a business coach or someone to teach you some of these things, which moves me to kind of what I've transitioned into. So I have a very successful business. It was working up until this summer, 3 very long days, because I wanted to have 2 days to work on the other piece of my business, the other side, which is my online training, coaching, and mentoring course. Yet I decided when I came into summer that it's time for me to do a little bit of reflection and a little bit of healing from the last 2 years. And so I am now referring out a lot of my clients, like Cheryl was saying, to some colleagues that are in Wisconsin. I'm in Wisconsin. And if they're interested in doing Zoom, I have all kinds of colleagues that I'm referring to. And it works out great for me. And I've gotten in that space of I just want them to be helped. And so I know that I could help them, yet I love all the many things that we can do. So I'm giving that a little bit of break. The reason I decided to do that is because when I niched my business as a performance mindset expert or sports hypnotist, my business really blew up, just like Grace Smith said. And my business blew up for many, many reasons. And I would say one of the biggest reasons is because I positioned myself as an expert. Now, the last 2 years, it has increased tenfold because of referrals. I have a completely referral-based business, and that is because when people see the change that we help them make, they will tell everyone else about it. I see plenty of clients that will say that they have been to psychologists for many, many, many years, and they came and used hypnosis, and in a month or two, they are completely different people. And I hear that all the time. And it's beautiful, and I love it. So the more of us that can do this and be successful in our businesses, the better. And so in the last 2 years, I've been through a lot of transitions. My son passed away in a motorcycle accident 2 years ago. And at the same time, I was going through a divorce of marriage that was 28 years. And I never, ever, ever imagined that that would not be my life. And nor did I want that to be my life. And so that was a long time coming and quite a transition. And what I found is that when that happened, I worked really hard on giving myself grace. And I also continued on like a steam train because I knew that I had to prove to myself that I could do this and I could be successful, and nothing was going to stop me at that time as I was dealing with the grief from my son dying and my marriage ending and all of that stuff. So now I'm in the space this summer where I'm like, I get to do some reflection and I get to really just sit back and breathe. And again, Lauren and I, we were just speaking about how now I'm in a space of I have a team of 4. I have a social media manager, I have a marketing strategist, and I have a virtual assistant that is almost full time with me. And I was in go mode for so long, and I tried to do everything for so long. And I lived in a state of overwhelm for a very long time, that now that I have a team, I sometimes have to sit back and tell myself, give yourself some time for your own meditation. Give yourself some time. You know, I've been doing a lot of spiritual work in these last 2 years to really focus on what you're genius at. And what I believe we are genius at is the reason we got into this business, right? We help people make changes in their lives. And so when we can give the tasks that we're not experts to other people, that helps our business. And so when I started niching my business, it was one of those things that I didn't realize was so important. And I really believe that my son dying and all of the things, like, this is all part of our journey. This is all part of why I niched. And what I niched with is athletes. I'm known for the program that I have called Attitude of a Champion. I am the known performance mindset expert in the area. I see people on Zoom now. I just saw a water polo player from California. And so word has gotten out, and that is my expertise, although it does not limit my practice. And there are so many people that come to me that are not athletes, and it's because they've heard about hypnosis through me, or they just find me. So we're going to talk a little bit about niching and how important it is. A little bit about me. I started out with hypnobirthing. I have a degree in psychology, yet I didn't know anything about hypnosis. I can honestly tell you that even though my college education was around psychology, there was maybe a paragraph in my textbooks that talked about hypnosis. And so I didn't know much about it. The only thing I knew was more stage show stuff. And when I was about to have my 3rd child, I was an at-home mom at the time. We had a couple foster girls, so I had 5 children. And I heard about hypnobirthing, and I decided that I was going to try it. It was hypnosis for birthing. It was my 3rd child. I was about to have a C-section. And I was like, I am just going to try it. If it doesn't work, whatever. And it was amazing. And it was so great that the OB said to me, I will endorse you in my practice because you're the talk of the hospital if you want to teach this hypnobirthing method that you used. And that was that little seed that, we get these little seeds in our life when you start thinking about like that, like planted that little seed and then I ran with it. And so I became a hypnobirthing practitioner. And just a few years, or I think it was a year later, I then went and became certified as a hypnotist hypnotherapist. Just kind of moved it along. And at the time when I started, I was like a lot of people that get into this business. I wanted to be a generalist hypnotist or hypnotherapist. I was afraid to tell anybody that I only saw one type of client or I was niching in a certain client, because others wouldn't find me or they wouldn't think that I could help them with weight loss if I said I worked with athletes. And so I was telling people that I was basically a hypnotist and I worked in hypnobirthing. And I cannot tell you how many times people would say to me, hippobirthing? What is hippobirthing? And I would laugh and be like, no, it's hypnobirthing. And they're like, what is hypnobirthing? And so I would explain that it was having a baby naturally and easily without the use of drugs using hypnosis. And so I moved from that to starting to see people in my practice. I did that by offering a lot of group sessions. We didn't really have Facebook back then, so there was a lot of like getting postcards out there and putting a sandwich board out in front of my office and all of those things. And so then I moved to starting to see a lot of athletes. Yet it took me 8 years in my practice before I decided to position myself as an expert in my niche. And so the question I have for you guys, those of you that I can see you, I love it when I can talk to people and not have to look at names or pictures. So I appreciate you guys that are on here. And I'm going to talk about a few things. First of all, I want to tell you about it, and then I have some questions for you. So I'm going to talk about what is a niche and why is it important? Why do so many people not niche their business? And what does it do for your business? And how do you market yourself in a different way because you have a niche? But the first question I have for all of you is, do you say niche or niche?
Niche.
Niche?
Niche.
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 Okay. And so I love it. So a lot of niches. Niche is very American. Niche is European, Australian. And so I find that I flip-flop back and forth. So niche or niche. Although I'll never forget when Jason Lynette said, you have to niche to be rich. And so that kind of resonated with me. And then the name of my book, which I'm going to give you guys a link if you'd like some information on it and a chapter on it, is Hypnose Niche. And I like to say hypnose niche, so I don't know. All right, so the other question is how many of you have a niche or have niched or niched your business? You guys can, put your hands up. And if you're not on the screen, you can do that little hand raise. It's under reactions there. So just Gerald, I heard you talk about smoking, correct? You're kind of known as the smoking expert.
I do non-smoking, and I do Muay Thai fighters, boxers, and jiu-jitsu guys.
Okay, so are you known as the non-smoking expert or athletic expert or?
Actually, I'm known as the Qigong expert.
Okay.
I'll stop you from smoking, and they send people to me.
Awesome.
That's how it works.
Okay. Cheryl, what about you?
Well, my original niche was on the training end, was teaching Dave Elman methods.
Yeah.
And then also I combined, and then I added the sleep talk. So for years, that's what I was doing all the time. Now that we're not traveling as much and I'm starting to see more clients, I've had such a weird array of people come to me, but it's been interesting, but I guess a lot of it comes from using Dave Elman's methods, but over the years, really just blending it. So, and I had somebody for performance, and their daughter was going to be, was it gymnastics? I think it was. And she was going to be in a meet in a week and a half, like that would take her to the national, or the regionals that would take her to the nationals. And I just did not feel qualified for that. And I forgot about you, Karen, and I didn't have your information there, but I had referred them to Randy Light They
Okay.
made an appointment and then they canceled it. So, you know, it's interesting that they would put all that money into the gymnastic stuff, and I'm sure they're putting a ton into it, right? And they wouldn't pay for the hypnosis to help her get there. All of a sudden, that was too expensive, you know?
Yeah, I don't find that. I find that parents will pay anything to get their children in the right mindset when they're at that level. Mhm.
Right. That's what I was thinking. And, you know, and we are not, I wasn't you know, I didn't feel comfortable again because it was so close, you know, and, you know, they needed that magic wand. And that I would not have done that in one session, not as focused on that. So now I know I have to like watch your course, right?
Yeah.
I'm not taking a table, so you tell me when you're speaking. I'll make sure that I come to you at Hypno Thoughts.
That's nice. Awesome. I will. So those of you that have not chosen a niche or present yourself as an expert in something or a hypnotist that works with, what do you call yourself? What do you say when someone says, what do you do? Curious.
Anytime I'm anywhere and someone's asking me that and I say I'm a hypnotist, and they take a step back, and if they ask, well, what do you do? I say I help people change their story. You know, so that's where I kind of blanket it to any need. I'm like, if you have something that you feel holds you back, or if you want to be a further expert in something, it's all a story, and we can interact with that story using hypnosis.
I found, oh, go ahead, Len.
Well, I'm pretty new to the practice. We're doing it a couple months now, but whenever I'm asked a question, I always say, whatever is a habit in your life, good or bad, I can make the good better. I can make the bad change. I can help you change your life so that you can reach the goals that you want to do in your life. Now, I seem to wind up by default niching. I think probably a third of my clients are coming to me for relationship issues with various things. So I'm helping people with that. And I don't know why. I guess that's referrals I'm getting from my previous clients.
Okay. So interestingly, because I did it, there's nothing wrong with it. It's not bad or wrong, but I, for way too many years, what I believe, I said, I'm a hypnotist or I'm a hypnotherapist. And then I would go into some, you know, little elevator speech that was like, I help people get change, or I help people move from hopelessness to helpfulness, or hopelessness to hopefulness. And what I found is that I got a lot of blank stares. Like, that is so broad. They have no idea what you're talking about. They don't want to start a conversation with you because they don't know what to say or even what to ask. And when I started niching, I was able to narrow it down to a small portion of people that I worked with, and it never stopped them then. That's when people started asking questions. Well, do you see people for this also? Well, have you worked with people for this also? But when the broad, I'm a hypnotist or a hypnotherapist came out, they look at you glassy-eyed. What is that? You know, do you do stage steps? Or they don't even ask you. It's like they literally, like, it goes right over the top of their head.
Well, they go.
So, right. Or they're
Yeah.
scared of you, or their Christian views said that you know, you're not in line with their beliefs. Or so I found that when I started niching and I could say to them, they would say, what do you do? And I get that all the time now. What do you do? My response is always this. You know how when athletes have the ability, but they lack the confidence to reach their peak performance? Well, I work with athletes to help them have confidence, to up their game, and I use hypnosis as an added benefit. So they've already heard me say that, what do? I help athletes. Then they hear the word hypnosis. I didn't tell them what I did or who I was. I just told them, you know, I just told them that I work with athletes to do this. And they always have a question. And the next question is, well, how do you do that with athletes? Or, well, you said hypnosis. Do you work with people, because it's smoking weight loss, right? Do you work with people for smoking? Do you work with people for weight loss? And so when I started presenting myself that way, I was getting clients just by attending events or talking to people about what I did. Now, you could do that with anything. You could do that with, if you want to be a grief expert or anxiety, or I've always thought memory loss would be so amazing, because so many people say they have memory loss. I see people for memory loss from 20 years old to 70 years old. I'm not an expert in it. I don't profess to be an expert in it, but memory loss comes with high anxiety. And so people are freaked out about not remembering things. And you know what it is? It's because their brain is working so fast and they have so much going on. They just aren't in the moment. They're not remembering things because of it. And when that high anxiety or stress level goes away, they can start to be more mindful and they remember so much more. So let's say you want to be an expert in memory. You could just say, you know how sometimes when you're going about your day and you can't remember where you put your keys or even what you had for dinner last night? Well, I help people learn mindfulness using hypnosis so they can remember where their keys are or live more in the moment. You know, that's kind of like a buzzword. So you've actually declared yourself as an expert. And we're going to go through a little bit about, you know, why is it so hard and why are people afraid to niche? But it's one of the number one marketing tools that will help your business to start to expand and explode. All right. So I'm curious, those of you that have not niched your business, what is stopping you or holding you back from choosing a niche and declaring that's your expertise?
Yes, I think what's holding me back is this fear of maybe losing client, maybe because I like so much, I'm so passionate about so many things. And for me, I lack the clarity to know what I'm good at. For example, I have helped relationship issues, trauma healing, but I like more like a spiritual hypnosis, like past life, life's purpose, like. So I think I have helped a lot of people with depression, let's say, but we cannot use the word depression. So I usually use life's purpose. But yeah, but I'm really creative. So I love working with creative people and unblocking creativity. So I think what's blocking me is like, just because I feel that I'm so passionate, I'm afraid of labeling myself.
So common. Number one reason is you're afraid that if you niche, the broad audience will not find you because you've niched in, which is actually the opposite. More find you, and I'll explain why. But thank you for that answer, because that is the number one reason. Why else is anybody not niched? Go ahead, Len.
I was going to share a story with you. One of my previous jobs, I was working for Lowe's Home Improvements website, and they gave us a lesson in retail. And the lesson is, unless you stand out, unless you're different from everybody else, you're going to die. You have no chance to succeed. You have to do something that sets you off from the common crowd. And niching is probably a great way to do that.
Yes. Yes. Very good. Thanks for sharing. Yes, Leanne, you're on mute. Oh, you're muted.
You're muted, Leanne.
Okay, there we go. I'm going to give you a story of why I think I should have been niched a long time ago. And by not niching, I sort of lost my way. Even as a high school student, I was hypnotizing people and started playing around with regression. And then in college and in graduate school, I still did past life regression. That was my interest. That was my whole reason for becoming a hypnotist. Well, for learning hypnosis. And then, whoops, hold on. And then I took a different career path, 35, 40 years down a different path with hypnosis not in it. And then I decided once I retired, I was going to get certified so I could do it for real. And then, so I took Claire DeLavar's course and became certified as a hypnotist. Well, she, of course, taught a lot of different topics and, could help a lot of different types of people. And so I thought, well, I'll just help everybody. But as a consequence, I got away from what I was really interested in and didn't niche. And I should have, because I've been a lot farther along now if I had, following the thing that made me passionate about hypnosis in the first place.
I totally agree. I feel like if I would have niched, I was seeing athletes anyways. If I would have positioned myself as a sports hypnotist or a performance mindset expert early on, I certainly would have, my business would have grown much quicker, but I resisted for so long. Totally agree, Leanne. Yes. Yes. In fact, here's a good analogy. I love this one. James Wedmore, he's an amazing business coach. He's like multi-millionaire business coach, but I like to follow him on podcasts and stuff. He talked about thinking about niching this way. What happens if your airplane leaves from Chicago here to San Francisco, and it's just 1 degree off in the settings? By the time it gets to San Francisco, it's hundreds of miles off course. It's not choosing a niche that will do the same thing. It sends you hundreds of miles off course. It'll actually send you into a different country by being 1 degree off instead of being honed in on where is your target. And that's what a niche is where is your target? You know, who is your target audience? Because when you don't have a niche and you haven't declared it, you don't know who your target is. It's the whole world. And that's a little bit difficult. So I am just going through like my experience and why it's important to niche. And I'm Karen Bird, and I am the CEO and founder of Win with Hypnosis, which is a business in Burlington, Wisconsin. And I have been certified for 18 years. And I only decided to niche about 17 years ago. And that's when my business started actually exploding. And so I've written the book, The Power of Hypnosis, The Power of Niching, and for a profitable and successful business. It's called Hypnosis Niche. What I'm going to do for you guys is, as we are doing the question and answer, I'm going to put on a PowerPoint with a QR code that you guys can get into the funnel and get a piece of that book, and then the rest of it if you'd like. So I will do that. A little bit about me. I was working my business. I had finally decided to niche my business, realizing that I was seeing athletes and I had this amazing structured program where I would see athletes for 4 sessions, and it was bing, bing, bing. I knew exactly what I was going to do. It was a mindset training program. It was the exact same thing for every athlete. Sometimes I would add in, like, if they had an injury. I had gotten it because my oldest son, the one that was in the motorcycle accident, he was an amazing wrestler. He was a 2-time state champ, a national champ. He was on the future Olympians list. He planned on being an Olympian. He had the mental toughness of a true champion. And he went to the Olympic Training Center one year for a summer and trained at the Olympic Training Center. And he would bring back manuals, sports hypnosis or sports psychology manuals from the Olympic Training Center. I got a hold of a lot of books. I had some elite swimmers that were working with me. So I had created this program. And I thought to myself, I have this amazing program. I am going to write a mindset training guide so I can teach other hypnotists and hypnotherapists what I do with athletes. And it's so cut and dry and so easy that why not put it into a manual? So I had put it into the manual, and then I decided, okay, now I have this manual. What do I do with it? And at that time, I decided I'm going to hire a book coach. Well, this goes back to the importance of having a coach. And so I didn't know how to write a book. I had never thought about writing a book, but I also knew that if I had a book, I might be able to get this training out there better. Because I didn't know anything about business. I had a degree in psychology. I worked in marketing for a while, but I had never owned a business. And I didn't know the first thing about starting up a business. So I decided I was going to write this book, and I hired a book coach, and I paid significant money for him. In fact, over $6,000. And I remember thinking to myself when I invested that amount of money, and my business was taking off. And so I was like, I'm just going to pull it from my business and invest in myself. And I remember saying the day I invested in him, I am going to make this work now, because I believe that the more we invest in ourselves, time and money, the harder we're going to work at it, because now we're going to make it work, right? I am not giving up. And so if you think that you're going to start a business and not invest money in it, it's going to take you a whole lot longer. I find that with anybody that invests in my coaching courses, my Attitude of a Champion course, where I teach a certification on becoming a performance mindset expert, that when you invest in it and you invest in yourself, you are accountable and you stretch yourself and you get it done. And that's one of the big things that I look for when I'm looking for people to join me in my course. So I wrote the book, and then it was back to the, okay, now what, right? Now I have a book. Now I have the program. I can get the book out there, and that'll teach others about what I'm doing. But now what do I do? And that's when I got to the point of, okay, now you get to hire a business coach, because I don't know the first thing about an online program. I didn't know the first thing about how to do anything other than get clients. And that was just because it was kind of an organic thing, because I had chosen my niche. And so my business coach was also a huge investment. In fact, at the time, which was probably 6 years ago now, I think I paid over $13,000. And I remember like, oh, and then I said to myself, I remember this exact phrase in my head. I remember saying, I can either hire her for $13,000 and get done what I want to get done in 1 year, because I feel like I trust her, I resonate with her. I like what she's offering. She's got the resources, she's got the tools, she's teaching mindset, all of the things that I don't have because I don't know where to find them, in 1 year. Or I can probably do the same thing and check on YouTube videos and do my own mindset work in 5 years. So is it worth $13,000 to get something done in 1 year, or do it myself in 5 years? And I decided to invest in it. And I will tell you, it was worth every single penny, because I made that fourfold that year. And it was because she had the resources and she went through the mindset training, and I had the coach and the mentor and the trainer that I needed to get me to the next level that I wanted to be at. So investing in yourself, I believe, is like huge. So that's kind of a little bit about my story. I remember I wandered in that field. I call it the hypnotic field of generalist hypnotist. Yes, accountability. You're right. For a very long time. And yes, Cheryl, when you talk about accountability, that is the one thing I do, is anyone that joins my courses, I will tell them before they even put that first dollar down for an investment, is there will be accountability, and I will expect you to stretch yourself. Because the last thing I want you to do is walk away and say that didn't work, because I guarantee you that what I'm teaching you will bring clients in your door, and you will make hundreds of thousands of dollars if you do what I tell you. And I also know that 99% of us have so much fear and so many blocks around imposter syndrome and getting ourselves out there, that I also offer mindset training, because there will be challenges and you will be asked to stretch yourself. And if you don't reach the challenge that I'm offering you, I will ask you where your breakdown was and what you're committed to doing for the next time. So I agree, like accountability is huge. And when we are pushed, that's when we find that we have results, right? So yeah, very true, very true. So yeah, I kind of got into working with athletes because my husband at the time was an elite athlete. He was a collegiate wrestler. He was a coach. My boys started wrestling from the moment they could walk. So I learned a lot about mental toughness, mental training. My oldest son was one of those unbeatable wrestlers that literally no one wanted to wrestle him, and he won all the time, which was pretty much unheard of. And I didn't even realize how amazing he was until my other two started coming up and realizing, you know, how the mind affects the way you wrestle. But our first son, he just didn't even question himself. He would turn switches on when he stepped on the mat, and he would turn into an apex. And what the heck's an apex, I would say, but literally like this superhuman creature where he would turn off his mind and step into like the hunger of winning. And so I learned so much from him, and the resilience and the mental toughness, and created this program. And as I did that, I started to learn that although I was known as the mindset expert, so I was known, he became the Hulk, I love it. I was known as the mindset expert. And so I was seeing that when someone Google my business, I'm a sports hypnotist, performance mindset expert. You go to my website, the first page is all athletes. You ask anyone what I do, I help athletes reach their peak performance. yet I have no lack of clients in any other area. In fact, I would say athletes are maybe 50% of my client load, because with every athlete that comes in, I see 2 or 3 other clients that are like, can you help me stop chewing? Can you help me with anxiety? I know someone that has panic attacks. What do you do with kids and bedwetting? So I never have a lack of clients, because with every athlete, they're not afraid to tell people that they use hypnosis. Whereas like the general public, when you say hypnosis, they're sometimes afraid of it, or they don't know what it is, or, you know, unless they're kind of woo woo, they're not seeking, you know, hypnosis for therapy. Yet I would say a majority of my clientele come in because they've been seeing psychologists for years and years and years and years and years, and they want to try something different. And we give them that change, and it's beautiful, and I love it. And so part of choosing my niche is that how people find me. Because if you go ahead and Google hypnotist, most people are gonna look at it and they're gonna make some phone calls. And if you don't answer the phone right away, you're off their list. And they're also gonna look at how much you charge. I am one of the highest price hypnotherapists in the area, because I know the value of it. And if I was just a generalist hypnotist, they probably would be like, wow, I can go to someone in Lake Geneva for half of that. So I'm going to try them first. And then they're soured, right? Because I know that I can get change in between a month and 2 months. And so that's what, you know, that's the value of what they pay for. And I truly believe that. And so when they want something, like they're going to Google hypnotist for weight loss. Now, you're still going to come up, even though you're known as the sports hypnotist, because the hypnotist comes up. But if they're Googling hypnosis for sports, you're immediately going to come up. And now you're known as an expert, and they trust you because you're an expert in something. You're not just this generalist that is out there flailing around saying, I do hypnosis, right? You focus on something. So there's so many reasons. God bless you, Lauren. So many reasons to pick your niche. And in the interest of time, because I don't want to hold you guys here forever, and I know you have a lot of questions about other things, I am going to encourage you. In fact, I'm going to share my screen right now to go ahead and I got to move you guys. You're in my way here. Okay, let's go. Okay, not that one. Oh, I thought this Steve Jobs quote was pretty cool. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. And I truly believe that's what it is about niching. And I wanted to do an exercise with you and have you kind of close your eyes and think of a few things, but I'll do that in just a moment, because there's a few things I want you to really reflect on. And based on like this quote that Steve Jobs had, is that when you find the clientele that you really enjoy working with, like my favorite clientele are athletes. They're so easy. They're not emotional. They're cut and dry. They're the best refers. When I have an athlete, to me, it's like eating cake. I mean, it is so easy to go into my office and be like, I have 5 athletes today. It's bing, 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 5 hours done. I've made thousands of dollars, and it's easy. When I have clients, which is why I stopped taking new clients this summer, at least for the summer, I'll see what fall brings. A lot of other clients to me are a little more difficult. I don't have to research for hours anymore, yet they take more out of me. It's a lot of energy when I'm working with someone that has anxiety and panic, and we're working on, you know, figuring out what's going on in their lives and learnings. And so for me, my favorite client, like think about what is your favorite client? What feels easy to you? Because this should be easy. Like you should love to do what you're doing and have that in your heart. We don't need that one. Okay. This is, my book is Hypnosis that I wrote, but there is a QR code right there. I can also send you guys the link if you can't get that QR code, but it's pretty easy. If you have a cell phone, you can just literally put your camera on, hold your cell phone up, and then you should be able to click on that and pull it up. Okay.
On my screen, the pictures of the people at the meeting are obscuring part of the QR code.
Yep.
You can move the pictures.
Can you move them to the top somehow?
You can. You can. So put your cursor on those and hold the mouse down, and then you can move that
I got
anywhere
it.
you
Thank
want.
you.
Yep. All right. You guys all complete with that? Should I give you another minute? All right, well, that's up. Actually, I'll just talk about a few things. So my questions for you are you working with the clients that you really want to work with? Or are the smoking and weight loss coming in your door and that's not your ideals? Are you charging what you're worth? Because when you position yourself as an expert, you can charge more because you're an expert in that area. You're an expert in gastric band, that's even micro niching, or you're an expert in working with people that have phobias. You can charge more because you're the expert in it. And you will see all the clients you want because they're the ones that find you, but they refer you to everyone else when they see the change and they believe in you because you're the expert in it. So what I wanted to talk about just for a few more minutes is, who is your avatar? Who is your ideal client? That's how you start figuring out what your niche is if I could work with any client and whatever client feels easiest, who is that? Where do they hang out? What is their pain? So what are they struggling with? When I think of athletes, they're struggling with having self-doubt stronger than their belief. Their performance doesn't match what they believe they can do. They lost the joy in the sport because there's so much pressure. That's their pain, right? And so then what will that feel like when they no longer have that pain? And when you've got that figured out and you're the expert in it, that's how you market yourself. You now know who your perfect client is, and you know what their pain is and how to get to their pleasure. But you can't do that when you're seeing all these clients, because who do you even speak to? You don't even know who to speak to. All right. Does everyone have that? Good. First of all, you spend less time studying, less time for every client, because I know when I first started, I would study for hours for every single client. Oh my gosh, someone's coming in for plane phobia. And I would pull out my stuff and look on the internet, and it was craziness. Yet when you see more of your ideal clients, you know what you're doing with them. It makes your life easier. You have a elevator speech that is cut and dry. People know exactly what you do. And then instead of being a hypnotist or a hypnotherapist, you just add it in the end and you say, and I use hypnosis to do it. That way they know what to ask you. They got a handle on what you did. And when they know that you can help them, they don't care if you know hypnosis anymore. They're not looking at you as just someone that does hypnosis, the weird thing. They're looking at you as, oh, she can help me with, or he can help me with. You definitely can position yourself differently on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, because you're now an expert in it. You know who you're reaching. Your posts can be targeted to that. You can target people to, do you wake up in the morning feeling sad? That's for someone that has anxiety, right? Or sadness. Or do you wake up in the morning worried about your next game? You can target it to who your perfect client is. You can position your website to be an expert in it. People go to my website all the time and they'll still call me or email me and say, I saw you featured all athletes on your website. Do you still work with people for? And I say, absolutely, all the time. So just because my first page, there's a link that says other services, they're going to go and look at your other services. You can, do group sessions based on it. When I go see Kiwanis clubs, Rotary clubs, I could do stress management. And sometimes I do stress management because we all know that entrepreneurs have a lot of stress, a lot of worries, a lot of concerns. And so I could start with stress management, but I always position myself at the end as an expert that works with athletes, because most people know someone, whether it's a child or a grandchild or a friend's friend, that has an athlete, and parents will pay anything to help their children get more confidence and get better at something. And so I position myself when I go to these meetings as, this is what I'm an expert in. And they're more likely to trust me than just being, I can do anything for you. And you can do anything for them. And they trust you more if you're an expert. So if you've ever thought about working with athletes, I do have a program, and I can just save you the time and the money to reinvent the wheel. That's why I suggest that you go with a coach, whoever it is, or if you're ready to up level, like someone that is doing what you want to do, that can help you with both mindset and resources and training, because they have the structure. And so with my Attitude of Champion program, I do that for performance mindset experts. It's a 6-month program. If you got the book, you'll probably get more information on it. And I use hypnosis to do it, or with the added benefit of hypnosis, I like to say. And that way, like the general public that doesn't know hypnosis, or they're not, you know, comfortable with it, you just say with the added benefit of hypnosis. And, you know, I help people get change when it comes to, so whatever your niche is, right? Whatever their pain is, it's the pain to the pleasure. You know how people struggle with, and I help them get whatever the pleasure is. So what will it be like when they're through it? Yeah. So yeah, you nailed it.
Is that helpful, Catherine?
Yeah. And then to answer your question, 2 niches. Here's my take on it: is your niche can always switch. Your niche can switch. It does not have to be the same one forever. It's not a life sentence. It might not be the one that you want to do 4 or 5 years, or even a year after you started. That's okay. And if you have 2, think about it as you're doing double the marketing. Because it's best if you hyper focus, you micro niche in on something, because that's your avatar. You want to speak to that client, that avatar. Where do they hang out? What do they look like? What do they eat? What do they think? What do they say? What are they doing? So that's your perfect client. And if you have 2, you're kind of all over the place. So I would say go for 1, and then you can always switch it. But that way you know who you're marketing to. You know who your perfect client is.
I really like that. Thank you. I'll just say for my personal, and this is why I've been in business almost 10 years, haven't niched down exclusively.
How do you, like, what's your advice for us that want to niche, but, you know, don't have the clarity yet?
I would say, that's so funny you say clarity. So on this book, on page 28, there's an exercise. I don't know if you can see that. Exercise to find clarity. And a few questions there. So I'm not sure if it's in the chapter that was sent.
I'm going to let you, we'll wrap up, and anything that you want to share to the group. And if it's okay, I'll share it with the other member on our list. And thank you so much for breaking this down, and for being, you know, so transparent with how you got where you are and what you continue to do to be this rock star.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And if you have any other questions, or if there's something in particular you want me to come in and talk about, we can do that too. So thank you for having me.